the era of technology and urban legends, in the bustling metropolis of modern-day Baghdad, there lived a delivery guy named Sam. Despite his humble occupation, Sam was a sharp and perceptive individual. One morning, he was sitting at his usual spot, his delivery bag at his side, waiting for a job. A tall, mysterious woman, draped in a long, flowing hijab, approached him and said, "Pick up your bag and follow me." Enchanted by her graceful presence and soothing voice, Sam immediately stood up, slung his bag over his shoulder, and followed her, murmuring to himself, "What a lucky day! What a fortunate encounter!" The woman led Sam to a quiet, narrow street and stopped in front of a heavy, intricately carved wooden door. She knocked, and an elderly man with a long white beard answered. Without uttering a word, she handed him some money. The old man disappeared inside and returned with a large jar of an unknown liquid, which Sam placed in his bag. The woman then gestured for him to follow her again. They visited a series of shops, a fruit vendor, a florist, a butcher, a grocer, and a poultry seller. Each time, the woman purchased a substantial amount of goods, which Sam dutifully packed into his bag. By the time they reached the final store, a perfumery, Sam's shoulders were aching under the weight. "Lady," he panted, "if you told me you were buying provisions for a feast, I'd have brought a cart. Or better yet, a truck." The woman chuckled and said, "We're almost done." Finally, they arrived at a grand, secluded mansion. She knocked gently on the door, and a stunning woman opened it. Sam was awestruck by her beauty. The woman who had led him there watched his reaction with amusement until the stunning woman said, "Come in, sister. This poor man is about to collapse under that load." Once inside, the door was bolted shut behind them. They entered a large, opulent hall, adorned with lavish decorations. At one end was a grand dais with a golden throne encrusted with jewels. In the center of the hall was a marble fountain, with water spouting from a golden lion's mouth. Sam couldn't stop staring, captivated by the luxurious surroundings. At the far end of the hall sat another woman on the throne, even more beautiful than the other two. By the reverence shown to her by the others, Sam guessed she was the eldest. Her name was Zobaida, while the woman who had opened the door was Sadie, and the one who led Sam was Amina. At Zobaida's command, Sadie and Amina took the goods from Sam's bag, paid him generously, and then prepared to see him off. However, Sam lingered, captivated by the enchanting presence of the women. Zobaida noticed and asked why he was still there. Embarrassed, Sam replied, "Madam, your generosity overwhelms me, but I must confess my curiosity. Seeing such remarkable women alone is a rare sight. A company of women without men is as incomplete as a company of men without women." After a pause, he added, "Could I stay and join your dinner?" Amused by his audacity, the women discussed and eventually agreed, on the condition that he behaved with utmost politeness and kept their lifestyle a secret. They sat down to a sumptuous meal, with Amina pouring wine from a golden goblet. As the evening progressed, they sang songs and shared stories, creating a convivial atmosphere. As the sun set, Sadie told Sam it was time to leave. "Please, madam," he pleaded, "let me stay. Between the wine and your captivating company, I couldn't find my way home." Zobaida consented, adding a stern condition. "If you stay, you must promise not to ask any questions about what you may see. Curiosity could lead to unpleasant truths." As they continued their revelry, there was a knock at the door. Sadie opened it to find 3 men, all blind in one eye, and with shaven heads, requesting shelter for the night. Despite initial reluctance, Zobaida agreed to let them in on the same condition. No questions about what they saw. The 3 newcomers were calendars, itinerant men of royal descent who had faced various misfortunes. As they joined the party, everyone enjoyed music, stories, and laughter. Suddenly, there was another knock at the door. This time, it was the Caliph of Baghdad, Harun al-Rashid, disguised as a merchant, accompanied by his vizier, Ja'far, and the chief of the eunuchs, Mesroor. Drawn by the sounds of merriment, the Caliph insisted on joining the gathering. The Caliph, his vizier, and Mesroor were welcomed with the same warning about asking questions. They joined the festivities, observing the peculiar company and the mysterious behavior of their hosts. The Caliph was particularly intrigued by the 3 blind calendars and the enigmatic women. After some time, Zobeida and her sisters began a strange ritual. They brought out 2 black dogs, which they treated with a mix of harshness and tenderness, whipping them until both the dogs and Zobeida wept. The Caliph, unable to contain his curiosity, signaled the vizier to inquire about the ritual. However, the vizier, wary of their host's warning, refrained from asking. As the night wore on, the tension in the room grew palpable. The Caliph's curiosity finally got the better of him. He signaled to the porter to ask Zobeida about the strange occurrences. The porter, fearful yet obedient, asked the question on everyone's mind. "Madam, these gentlemen are curious to know why you first whip the dogs and then cry over them, and why your sister's neck is scared." Zobeida's face darkened with anger. "Did you forget the condition upon entering our house?" she demanded. "Guards," she called, and 7 black-clad, armed guards stormed in, ready to execute the intruders. The guests were terrified, realizing their lives hung by a thread. The porter, in a desperate bid to save himself, pleaded with Zobeida, blaming the calendars for their misfortune. Zobeida, despite her anger, couldn't help but laugh at his desperation. Addressing the group, she said, "You have violated our trust. However, I will give you a chance. Tell us who you are, and if your stories are satisfactory, you may leave unharmed. But if you refuse or lie, you will not leave this place alive." The calendars, realizing the gravity of their situation, began to share their stories. Each revealed that they were not ordinary men but sons of kings, each with a tale of tragedy and loss that had led them to their current state. The Caliph, seeing an opportunity, whispered to his vizier to reveal their true identities, but the vizier wisely advised against it, suggesting they wait until morning when the Caliph could summon the women to his court. Zobeida, her anger somewhat abated, listened to the calendar's stories. She then turned to the porter, who quickly recounted his simple tale of how he ended up in their home. Zobeida nodded and allowed him to leave, warning him never to return. The porter, relieved and grateful, departed immediately. The remaining guests awaited their fate, knowing that the morning light would bring either freedom or death, depending on how well they could convince their mysterious hostesses of their sincerity and honor.